Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School where we break down the most intense debates, the most urgent conversations, the most long-standing struggles intellectually in the world today. And we do it not like cable news. We don't do superficial analysis. We don't do drive-by takes. Nah, we do something else. We do deep dives. We are a global classroom, and that's what we do here every single night. I'm excited to be here with you all tonight. I'm excited to have such a wonderful week of programming, and it's a weird one. You know, I've been traveling and sort of winding down from not winding down. I guess recovering is probably a better word for being sick last week, and I've had a lot of time to watch a lot of content on social media. I've watched a lot of news reports. I've watched a lot of the gossip, a lot of the global events, and I'm excited about the opportunity here to have some conversations. So we're going to, over the next 3 or 4 days, really pick up the pace and start talking about some of these things I think that are going on in greater depth. So, of course, we'll do a deep dive on office hours regarding regarding Lebanon. There's no way we can avoid that, and no way we should avoid that. We're also going to do a real substantive legal analysis of what's happening in the Diddy trial, because I think that it's more important than we've made it out to be. It's more urgent a topic than we've conceded. We talk about the drama of it. We talk about the tawdry parts of it, but what we haven't talked about in any real way, I believe, is is what it means for hip hop. You know, we had that conversation in office hours, but I mean in night school, you know, where we can really kind of sit and unpack some of the some of the deeper dimensions of what's going on here with Diddy, in terms of sexual violence, in terms of rape culture, in terms of hip hop, in terms of the future of the industry. And as I'm watching people exploit, in a lot of ways, the pain of others, when I'm watching people locate people who are mentally ill and have them be the voice, you know, of this moment. When I'm watching people exploit things that may be true by mixing them with things that are not true. When I'm watching people take things that are true and make light of them, make a joke of it, minimize it. You know, I heard someone say the other day, "Oh, now that Diddy is accused of hurting a child, this thing is no longer a joke." It wasn't a joke before. It may have been a joke to some of us, some of y'all, I should say. I wasn't one of them. But it was never a joke. It never should have been a joke, and that's the scary part. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about the United States finally taking somewhere close to a principled position on an issue. The U.S. says that it will not, and specifically President Joe Biden said that he will not support an Israeli strike on Tehran's nuclear sites following Iran's missile attack on Israel. Joe Biden made the comments after a phone call with G7 leaders from Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the UK. U.S. and its allies are trying to de-escalate tensions in the region ostensibly in an effort to avoid an all-out war, which I do think is true. And they're urging Israel to show restraint as it weighs retaliation against Iran. Meanwhile, Israel continues its simultaneous attacks on Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria with significant civilian deaths. Today, the IDF extended its evacuation warnings in Lebanon, which means they're going deeper into civilian territory and they're expanding their ground invasion. And nearly 30 healthcare workers were killed in Lebanon in a single day. That's according to the World Health Organization. I mentioned the source partly because it's good practice, but also because so often people deny the legitimacy of these death reports by acting as if they come out of, out of people's brains or out of people's butts. We would just make it up. Anyway, access to medical care is becoming extremely limited as 36 healthcare facilities and 5 hospitals were either partly or fully evacuated. Now, you might be saying right now, this sounds awful familiar. Well, it does. We are watching the exact same playbook that was run in Gaza be run right now. We're watching the exact same pain, the exact same recklessness, the exact same indiscriminate violence, the exact same disproportionality. We're seeing it all play out in the exact same way. The Lebanese health minister said that Israeli strikes that hit 9 hospitals and 45 healthcare centers, it's violation of international law and treaties. The Lebanese Red Cross said that an Israeli strike wounded 4 paramedics and killed a Lebanese army soldier as they were evacuating people from the south. It said the convoy near the village of Taiba, which was accompanied by Lebanese troops, was targeted Thursday despite coordinating its movement with UN peacekeepers. Again, it sounds familiar. The reason it sounds familiar is because there's a very specific pattern that the Israeli military is following at the present moment. And that pattern is not unlike the pattern that we've seen in Gaza, in Lebanon before, in Syria, in Iraq, etc., from the United States as well. And that pattern is, first, there is a narrative. First of all, there's the kind of discursive, there's a demonization of the Lebanese people or of the Gazan people or of the Syrian people or of the Iraqi people. And because so much of our understanding collectively of brown people is grounded in an idea that they are barbaric and uncivilized, it seems as if any kind of attack, any kind of military intervention from the West is necessary and productive, because if we don't do it, they're going to kill us. If we intervene, we can save them. Gayatri Spivak talked about this idea of, white men saving brown women from brown men, which becomes part of the imperialist impulse of the United States, at least the narration of the imperialist impulses of the United States. We're going to go save them. We're going to liberate them. Operation Iraqi Freedom. Let's go liberate the Afghani women, right? And so forth and so on and so forth and so on. And then there's also the idea that Israel is isolated in a bad neighborhood. That's the constant argument, right? That there's a million Arab countries, only one Jewish state, and they are surrounded and bombarded even by the by these countries. And because of that, they have no choice but to defend themselves. Because of that, they have no alternative options. The problem with that argument is multiple. There are multiple problems, right? One is that the argument ignores why Israel is a single player in the quote unquote neighborhood in the way that it is. It ignores the occupation. It ignores the ethnic cleansing in Palestine. It ignores the depopulation of villages. It ignores the apartheid state. It ignores all the things that had to happen for the state of Israel to be formed in the first place. Because if you don't start there, then yeah, it looks like Israel's just just surrounded by people that don't like us. It also reinforces the idea that the other nations are the provocateurs and that Israel is simply the victim. Think, for example, about Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris' statement just a few days ago that Iran is an escalating force in the region. Wow. Whatever you think of Iran, whether you support Iran, whether you're critical of Iran, whether you hate Iran, whether you love Iran, whether you think Iran is right, whether you think Iran is wrong, all that is one thing, but there's no way to talk about Iran as a destabilizing force in the region without talking about the fundamental destabilizer in the region. It ain't Hezbollah. All of the resistance efforts we've seen in the last year, whether it's what the Houthis or the Ansar Allah are doing in the Red Sea, whether it's what Hezbollah is doing in the north of Israel, or whether it's what Hamas is doing, whether it's what anybody's on Jabha, whoever. All of it is a response to an illegal military occupation and a bombardment and a siege. All of it is what's happening. So it's a little rich to hear the United States, which has funded the occupation, it's underwritten economically and militarily and diplomatically the apartheid state, to hear them say what the destabilizing force in the Middle East is. The United States is a destabilizing force in the Middle East. This is the fundamental problem with this type of approach. We also have some other news that just came in, and I'm just literally getting it from my team as we speak. And so I'm gonna give me 1 second, yo. We live, so we're gonna do it. Y'all gonna be happy to hear this, I think. Breaking news, y'all. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Kuwait, all of these countries have declared their neutrality to Iran and its conflict with Israel, and will not allow the United States to use their air bases against Iran. This is not a small thing. One, this is a huge deal. This is a bold deal. This is a game changer. This is something that sends an important signal, but also has a very practical value or benefit. Israel, with every move in the last year, has further isolated itself. The script that everyone has to support the US, and everyone has to support the West, and everybody has to support the Allied nations, and everybody has to support Israel, all of these scripts are changing. And they're changing because people are waking up, they're standing up, and they're pushing back. There's no way you could watch what's happened in the last 300 days, 361 days, whatever, and not be outraged at Israel's use of disproportionate and indiscriminate force. It's violation of international law. But some countries at the onset saw it and said nothing. Some people became increasingly outraged and said nothing. Even the United States, they whispered and they leaked news and they said, "Oh, Biden's so mad at Netanyahu, their romance is fading," but they never fully stood up and spoke out, even now. But what the Arab nations are doing right now is saying, look, first of all, we don't want the smoke with Iran. We are not jumping into a regional conflict with Iran, but also we're not going to aid and abet the United States. The US can't use our air bases. Now, some of these countries matter more than others in terms of moving the needle. For example, Kuwait and Bahrain it's great that they have stood up and said, hey, not on our watch. But it's super important that Saudi Arabia said, not on our watch. It's super important that Qatar has said, not on our watch. And the reason why I say that is because Qatar has been instrumental in the negotiations with Hamas. And so to hear Qatar say, look, no, not on our watch. And Saudi Arabia has been attempting desperately to normalize relations with Israel again. There's no secret that Mohammed bin Salman and MBS wants that. That there's a great economic value to Saudi Arabia. But what they've said consistently, and you got to give them credit for this, and I don't give Saudi Arabia credit for much, but they've consistently said, we will not normalize relations unless X, Y, and Z happen with the Palestinian people. And now with the latest strikes, they're saying, absolutely not. We're not going to let this Iran thing happen. We're not happy with what's happening in Lebanon, and we remain upset about what's happening in Gaza. These issues matter. They matter a great deal. So these changes, these developments are crucial. They're critical, and I hope that people are paying careful attention to them. Okay. Let's move on to another related story, but one that again is I don't know if depressing is the word. Let's take a break. We'll come right back and we'll talk about it. I want to talk about the rise of anti-Muslim hate in the United States, and I just need a second to process that and sit with it because it's heavy, y'all. Stay with me. School. Welcome back to Night School. Welcome back to Night School. We're here talking a great deal about the Middle East and a great deal about the United States' role, what's happening in the Middle East. But I don't want us to think that these issues that are rising in the Middle East don't impact people right here in the United States. That's why I want to talk about anti-Muslim hate. This is not a small thing. Anti-Muslim hate and Islamophobia have been on the rise in the United States. The organization CARE defines Islamophobia as a fear, hatred, or prejudice toward Islam or Muslims perpetuated by people and institutions. In the immediate aftermath of October 7th, there was a rapid increase in these incidents. CARE received thousands of complaints, amounting to a 180% increase compared to the prior year. Now, the most violent incidents include the murder of a 6-year-old Muslim boy in Chicago. I think we all remember that. His name was Wadi El-Fayoume, and he was stabbed to death by an American adult. 3 Palestinian college students were shot in Vermont, leaving one of the men paralyzed for life. But what's been far more common is the censorship and the discipline of students for being pro-Palestinian and for being against the occupation. CARE says that anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian bias are often conflated. Experts note that anti-Muslim sentiment actually has origins in anti-Palestinian discrimination. Arab organizations organizing for Palestine in the 1960s and the 1970s were often spied upon by the United States government. Not a surprise, given COINTELPRO and all these other things. And some of the country's first anti-terrorism laws evolved as a response to the Palestinian liberation struggle, some specifically in response to the PLO. So this is something that we have to continue to pay attention to, partly because people conflate the different groups. People are mad. I mean, think about after 9/11, when people who weren't even Muslim, they might be Indian, Hindus, they might be Sikhs, they might be Druze, right? They saw brown and they saw difference and they said, let's get them. This is the crisis. This is the crisis. And so we have to think and keep track of that in a very real and substantive way. A 180% increase is crazy. But I also want to not obscure the realities of Black Muslims as well. I say that to say Black Muslim Americans who are often not considered Muslim, not read as Muslim. After 9/11, people weren't going after Black people who happened to be Muslim, but they would go after masajid, they'd go after masjids, they'd go after mosques, they'd go after Muslim communities. But there's a way that Black Muslims are also being treated with great bigotry and great disrespect and with great harm here in the United States. And I don't want us to forget that either. So all of this is connected. But again, as I mentioned earlier, it's also important to realize that anti-Muslim struggles are often mixed in with the anti-Palestinian struggles. People saw the PLO and all they saw was Islam. People see Hamas, all they say is Islam. People saw Al-Qaeda, all they say was Islam. People saw whomever, Taliban, all they see is Islam. And I'm not saying that all those organizations are the same in any way, not politically, not ideologically, not ethically, in any way. I'm saying they're all different. But the problem is we demonize all Arab groups. We demonize all Islamic resistance groups. We demonize all national liberation struggles. We demonize everything that's black, anything that Black and brown people do to get free, we demonize it and we criminalize it. And so to take that, all of that, and then to weave it into a kind of deep suspicion and hatred of Muslims that isn't just about America, that's a global problem. You end up with where we are now. So we're going to continue to keep track of it. We're going to continue to cover it. So much to talk about. I'm reading the comments here. People like Omega who said, yeah, I took Shahada in 2019 and my friends joked, you're already a Black and a woman. Why are you trying to make your life harder? This is the narrative. This is the argument. Rasta said, Mark, Palestinians treat Blacks horribly. You will get called Abid and a slave by the what is your fetishism of the I'm always fascinated by people who tell me how I will be treated by Palestinians or what Palestinians do. Um, I've met Palestinians. I've been to Palestine many times. I've studied Palestinian society. I study race in Palestine. I have a very clear idea about what happens there. I think I suspect I know more about this than you. Um, and I just haven't experienced what you're talking about. And there's no fetishism here. There's a commitment to a struggle. I have a commitment to many struggles. But right now, here in the United States or in the West, it is very challenging. It's impossible for me to ignore the Palestinian struggle, particularly when my country, the one that that I'm a citizen of, is funding it. My tax dollars fund Palestinian oppression. So how dare I? How dare I ignore what's going on? I don't have a right, or I don't have a right to do that. I don't have the freedom to do that, and so I don't do that. But all these conversations about um, how the Palestinians are going to call you slave. And that's not my experience. It's not my experience in the West Bank. It's not my experience in East Jerusalem. It's not my experience in Israel. So I just don't know what you're talking about. It's not my experience here in the United States. Might as well add Dearborn too, because that might as well be its own section of the Arab world. Anyway, that's how I see it. That's how I see it. So you all can take it how you want it. I see it differently. Anyway, we're gonna move on to another topic because there is a U.S. senator who fears that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is trying to influence American elections. Dun dun dun. I'll tell you about it on the other side of the break. You know what? Yeah, I'll tell you about it on the other side of the break because I think it's an interesting topic. I think maybe a day late and a dollar short, but I want to get your side of the issue on this as well. Stay with me. Welcome back to Night School. U.S. Senator Chris Murphy, he's a Democratic senator from Connecticut, says that he is worried that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to influence the U.S. presidential election. How? By escalating tensions in the Middle East with no interest in a peace deal. Murphy believes that Bibi has an eye on domestic U.S. politics as he wages war on Lebanon and now Syria. He acknowledged that any prospect of peace in Gaza before election day, U.S. election day to be clear, is not likely. Democrats are deeply divided over the war in Gaza, and Senator Murphy told CNN, quote, it is certainly a possibility that the Israeli government is not going to sign any diplomatic agreement prior to the American election as a means potentially to try to influence the result. I think my response when I hear Senator Murphy say that is, duh. Benjamin Netanyahu has been putting his thumb on the U.S. electoral scales for a very long time. He clearly endorses Donald Trump. He prefers Donald Trump to be president. He hated Obama. He's come to the U.S. Capitol and then addresses over in front of both chambers for the sole purpose of showing up Obama and now showing up Joe Biden when he did it this time around. There is a particular disdain that Netanyahu has shown for Obama, but that he's not a big fan of Biden. And I suspect he doesn't like Kamala Harris for a variety of reasons. And so when you have Donald Trump who gives you everything, Donald Trump loves Bibi. He supports Bibi. He backs Bibi. He endorses Bibi. And he gives him everything he wants in U.S. foreign policy. Not signing the waiver for the Jerusalem Embassy Act, allowing for the annexation of the Golan Line. I mean, we're going on and on. He absolutely and by he I mean Trump, absolutely is the softest touch that Israel has seen in a long time. And that takes a lot to say, given how easily the US presidency has been amenable to the interests of whoever is the Israeli prime minister. So, against the backdrop of all of that, again, I say duh. But Netanyahu is turning it up a notch now. The idea that he's actually invading a nation, Lebanon, the idea that he is expanding the Israeli nation state's commitment to indiscriminate violence and disproportionate violence against the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. The fact that all of this, everything that's happening benefits two people, Netanyahu and Trump. I don't think Netanyahu's first goal is to influence American elections. I don't think he's out there trying to be that some secret hand. I think he understands that his political agenda is advanced better if Donald Trump is president. I think he also understands that the only way he stays out of jail is by staying prime minister, and the only way to stay prime minister is to stay at war. And so the doctrine of permanent war is much more likely to be advanced by Trump, who believes in war. Trump's not a war guy. He's not, even though he had Bolton and people in his cabinet, he's not a war guy. But he'll listen to war people and do what war people say if it meets his bottom line concerns. Whereas the Democrats are probably sort of running and branding themselves intentionally as anti-war people. So for Netanyahu, it's yeah, I want to affect the U.S. election because I want to affect the U.S. election. But fundamentally, all he wants to do is keep the war going and stay in office, because he will be fired the moment he doesn't. Not literally fired, but yeah, there'll be new elections and he won't win. I'm not sure he'd win any election right now anywhere near Israel. So this is the backdrop. But Senator Murphy's point was a little different. He's saying that all this war stuff, all this talking stuff, this failure to reach a peace deal is simply to make people more disillusioned with the with the Biden-Harris administration, and to encourage voters to punish Kamala Harris for what Biden has not done. Now, I happen to believe that Kamala Harris is not substantively better than Joe Biden on Israel-Palestine. I happen to believe that she may say one or two things differently, but at the core, there's no real difference. So I think Netanyahu knows that. And I think he worries about that. And so he's making the best political move for him. So I don't want you all making it sound like it's some conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. It's just how politics works. But be very clear. Netanyahu, whatever he says, is in his own interest, not the interest of you, me, or the Palestinian people. I want to shout out Gia Brewer for joining the channel. We appreciate you. Thank you for becoming part of the team. It's interesting, but the bunny says what is noticeable is who is not declaring. And yeah, I think for me, Jordan and Egypt are the two big countries that have not declared. It's interesting to ask why. I think Egypt is so tied to the interests of the Israeli establishment that I'm not sure you see anything from the Palestinian Authority anymore, except complicity, except collaboration. And I don't mean that in a good way, except basically selling out the Palestinian people. James Harvey said, "Hola, Professor. Do you know what's going on in Morocco, where a vacationing IDF member was arrested for war crimes?" I have not heard this story. Y'all gonna have to read me in on it. I'll read in on it and give you an update from we do the guys' update. We'll do something diasporic and talk about North Africa as well. But wow, Morocco don't usually get busy like that. I'm a little surprised, but we will find out. Shout out to Robin Walker Murphy, who gifted 10 memberships, y'all. It's the beginning of the month. I'd be very grateful if people can gift memberships if they're able to. Isaac Hempsey did the same thing. He donated 5, gifted 5. Thank you. You have no idea how much this stuff helps, how much this stuff works to help us build the channel and to do the things that we need to do. One last story before we go, and it's a big one. Donald Trump is a thief and a liar and a hustler. And there's no doubt about that. But there's a chance that he may have been caught doing something that may expose him. Stay here. Welcome back to Night School. Such a good night to talk to y'all. So much going on in the world. Question came in from me and McLean. Do I have to be on a computer to purchase gift memberships? I'm on my phone. I don't see how. That's a good question. I know that to do the membership stuff in general, you either have to be on a desktop or you can go to the description and find a link to join. And you should be able to gift as well in that place. So something to think about. But you should be able to do it. Donald Trump has a new hustle. Grifters gonna grift. That's just what it means. Grifters gonna grift. And Donald Trump has found a few new ways to put money in his pockets. Donald Trump has 2 GoFundMe pages that are currently raking in millions of dollars. I mean, literally millions of dollars. The first is for the victims and families of the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania. That's right. I'm going to pull this up for you. I need y'all to see this, yo. Since it went live after the rally in July, the page, which is still running, has amassed over $6.6 million. $6.6 million. And there's some big donors. This isn't just, I mean, it's everyday people who are giving a little bit of money that they have, right? Which is always tough for me to see. It's always heartbreaking when I watch people just get like hustled for their money. When I watch people get their stuff stolen, basically, right? That's what it feels like. But it ain't just that. I'm trying to pull up this Butler one. Hold on. I need y'all to see this. I need y'all to see this because I don't want y'all to think again that I'm just making this stuff up or exaggerating what's happening. So here you go. Look at this. Support for Butler, PA victims. This isn't a campaign donation. This isn't a situation where people have like strict limits on what they can donate. $6.6 million have been raised out of 70,000 donations. Do you know how crazy that is? You see people like Dan Newland giving $1 million. Thomas McDonald and Hangover Gang, 50,000. David, 50. Catherine Oxenberg, 50. Elon Musk, 50. Elon Musk, another 50. Stephen Wynn, and so forth. And so Dana White from UFC, 50,000. Kid Rock, 50,000. Vivek Ramaswamy, 30,000. The Scaramucci family, 25,000. That's a red flag. So you see all of the prominent voices donating to this so-called cause. But that was July. The grift worked. And one thing Donald Trump understands, maybe better than most people, is if it don't work, do something different. And when it does work, you keep it that way. And so the Butler one worked. And so here he comes again with a second grift, supporting the victims of Hurricane Helene. They've collected nearly $5 million already. And this is the message that donors see when they go to the page. I want y'all to see what the donors see. President Donald J. Trump has launched this GoFundMe campaign as an official response for MAGA supporters to offer their financial assistance to their fellow Americans impacted by Hurricane Helene. So, as you can see, Trump has a lot of options. He's a powerful man. So why would he, as a former president, not just direct donations to hurricane relief organizations? Why wouldn't he just direct them to the Red Cross? Why wouldn't he direct them to organizations inside of, I don't know, North Carolina? Again, you'll see many of the same big money donors as in the Butler campaign. And yet there's been no coverage of this. So a couple of things are happening. One, Trump is doing something hella shady, raising money from people who have it when it's not the best way to raise it or the most optimal way to do it. It's questionable. It's shady. He doesn't answer questions on it. As much as he likes to brag and talk about all the things he does, he doesn't talk about this in any great detail. Why? Because he knows, in my belief, that something ain't right in Denmark. And yet, I don't know. There's just something very, very strange about Donald Trump collecting all this money and not giving it to anybody. But it's also something very strange about the media not covering it. If Kamala Harris does anything wrong, if she does anything questionable, they're talking about kicking her off the ballot. Hillary Clinton, they were talking about lock her up. Now Donald Trump is hustling here and there, and there's no evidence that he's giving the money to anybody else. Now, I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying there's no evidence of it. So, whew, that's all I can say. That's all I can say. Donald Trump has no shame, no dignity, no care, no heart, no ethics. And that's why we are where we are in this country. Anyway, that's it for Night School. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to remind you, it's the beginning of the month. Many of you like to make your donations now. We really appreciate that. If you could, your membership joins. If you want to gift membership to the channel, these are things that are often valuable to do right now. We like to keep a consistency throughout the month, but we always love when people can make donations early in the month, like right now. So please, we ask for all the help that you can give. Hit the like button, hit the join button, hit the subscribe button as well. And if you don't have the ability to do that, you can go to PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Use one of these platforms, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, and you can donate whatever you want, from $1 to $1 million. We're all grateful for every piece of it. Thank you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.